White House, Mccain and Brennan confirmed as leakers by Sean for YourNewsWire.com. The White House have named Senator John McCain and CIA Director John Brennan as leakers of classified intelligence designed to undermine the Trump administration. Shortly after Trump was elected and before he was sworn into office, Brennan participated in a series of leaks and smears that were designed to damage Trump before he officially took office. Surprise, right? According to the White House, both Brennan and McCain are part of a deep state smear campaign to undermine Trump and damage the Republican Party. TruePundit.com reports Brennan, who at the time was CIA director, teamed with Senator John McCain to plant negative stories in the mainstream press to discredit Trump and undermine the results of the 2016 election, sources confirm. Just weeks after Trump's election in early December of 2016, the Central Intelligence Agency was the major source in a national Washington Post story linking the Russian government to hacking the presidential election to help Trump, according to CIA personnel with direct knowledge of the case. The Washington Post, it's a much hyped front page splash, fingered the CIA for allegedly confirming the wild rumors of Russian hacking that were concocted and spread by Democratic lawmakers for months preceding the election and the weeks since the GOP win. The Washington Post story, however, contained no CIA sources and, in fact, no credible U.S. intelligence agency sources whatsoever. Instead, it hinged on what unnamed lawmakers had supposedly been told by unidentified supposed CIA-linked sources in secret briefings, that the CIA had developed proof that Russian state waged an orchestrated campaign to destabilize the U.S. election to benefit GOP candidate Trump. It's an outright lie, a CIA analyst divulged to True Pundit in 2016. There's nothing definitive like that. Now, over a year later, more law enforcement sources point their collective finger directly at Brennan and McCain for leaking misinformation to the media and waging their own clandestine campaign to smear the White House. No one has ever called these two on it, a well-placed White House source said, but now we know what they did. It did not work, but it certainly could have. At the time, multiple CIA sources denounced the Washington Post for knowingly reporting misleading national security intelligence. Intelligence insiders said no one in the agency or in the FBI who is running at least one parallel inquiry has ruled out a possible internal leak within the Democratic National Committee from actors inside the United States who funneled private DNC emails to WikiLeaks. Enter John McCain, who White House insiders believe Brennan's misinformation to the feet of the Washington Post and later the New York Times. At the time, McCain took to the Sunday morning political talk show circuit, fueled by the Washington Post's thinly sourced yet highly lauded reporting. Senator John McCain implored President-elect Trump to look at the CIA Russian information, which he said was credible. McCain, however, as the Senate Armed Services Committee chairman, had strangely never publicly disseminated such intelligence prior to the Sunday network talk shows. And no other elected officials have stepped up to echo his narrative or that of the Washington Post. Brennan and McCain were alone with their accusations, and no one bothered to back them up. Even James Clapper, then ODNI director, walked away from the accusations, publicly stating there was no proof of what was published in the Washington Post. Even at the time, CIA and intelligence sources quickly countered McCain's claims as speculative at best, saying his information is simply not accurate and he, as the Arizona senator, has done previously was grandstanding for the media without knowing key facts. Multiple sources said Brennan and his inner circle in the agency could not be trusted to disseminate any true intelligence, especially in their final days on the job, without tainting raw data with political ideologies that parallel their White House boss. Now, the White House insider said this is really the first proof Trump and his inner circle have concluded was part of a deep state smear campaign to damage the incoming Republican administration. And there are many other examples of these two career politicians working against the current White House, the source said. CIA personnel said any official information released by Brennan or the White House on this issue prior to President Barack Obama's departure from office should be discounted and tuned out as partisan white noise, quote. A veteran Beltway journalist, author, and award-winning professor said very little has changed at the Washington Post since he worked as a Beltway journalist covering politics in Prince George's, Maryland. Sadly, he said, the Washington Post's recent practices are not the exception but the rule at the newspaper. They just make up news, fabricate whatever news was required at the time, especially when they were scooped or embarrassed by other publications, said Greg Morris. Sometimes they did it because they believed they were entitled. Nothing has changed. Morris worked for Time Magazine and New York Post, Gannett's Democrat and Chronicle newspaper in Rochester, New York, and Washington Star, D.C., a graduate of Cornell University with a bachelor and master's degree. Morris is currently an award-winning journalism professor at Hunter College in New York City. Morris has chronicled the decline of the mainstream media, especially the Washington Post, for 30 years as a professor and journalist, and is currently working on a new book about corruption in undergraduate higher education. Morris said the Washington Post's latest foray into make-believe journalism with the CIA Russian story had several glaring inconsistencies that are often hallmarked of fabricated fake news. There are no sources with direct knowledge. It's just all hearsay, Morris said. Who cares what some partisan senators or lawmakers say? They were told. The Post needs real sources on this. Without CIA sources, this story wouldn't even make it out of my classroom alive. What else did Brennan, Mccain, and their deep state media suitors cook up since the election? You see, they were working against Trump. This was all a plan to make his presidency illegitimate. This is basically the bottom line. And we know they're corrupt to the core, and I hope they have to answer for their crimes eventually. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.